subcommittee. First of all, evacuation procedure. So there is a location plan of the exits and the assembly points situated on the doors of this room. Please familiarise yourself with it. On discovering a fire, please carry out the following: sound the alarm, attack the fire if it's safe to do so using the appliances provided. On hearing the evacuation signal, please carry out the following: exit the building by your nearest exit point, which is either to the rear of this room or through the corridor the way you've come in. All visitors report to the assembly point G, which is in the car park, and all staff report to the designated assembly point in the Walkway car park. Do not leave the assembly point for any reason until told to do so by the incident controller or the fire brigade officer. Okay. Right. Thank you. So number 2 then, do we have any apologies for absence members away on official business? I know that we have got Councillor Jackson who's slightly running late, and Councillor Jarvis, and I'm chairing on behalf of him and subbed by Councillor Bell. Are we okay with that? Thank you. Do we have any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests? Good. So item agenda number 4 is public participation. I've not been notified of anything from the public. Is there anything that's come forward? Julie? Thank you. So item number 5 is the minutes of the subcommittee held on the 25th of March. Copy inside your pack. Has everybody had a chance to have a look at those? Is there anything that anybody's not happy with or anything missing on that? I'll take silence as well. Lovely, thank you. Item number 6, we're going to move to the end of the agenda. So I'm going to be moving that for public, to exclude the public and the press. So item number 6 will be moved for that presentation to the end of the agenda. Okay. Item number 7 then, Julie, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report is just really for information more than anything else. So this report just updates members on the Warwickshire Community Safety Agreement, which sets out the priorities for the Safer Warwickshire Partnership Board. Say that there was a agreement in place really until 2026. However, due to changes in other people's priorities and other plans, we're trying to make sure that everything's aligned, so the timescales are the same. So whilst the existing agreement should still be in place, it has been renewed, and so this report is for your information. Some slight changes have been made. It takes on board the role, the function, structure of and the priorities of the partnership. However, like I said, this is now been amended and changed, and it went to the Safer Warwickshire Partnership Board on the 24th of June for approval, based on the copy that you've got in this pack, with the idea then it will be aligned to other plans such as the Peace and Crime plan, which is the Office of Peace and Crime Commissioner, and other strategic plans. So this report's really for your information about it. That's been updated and changed, and the timescales of that will now run till 2029.
Thank you very much. So as just explaining, so it is literally for members to know the draft. But is there anything that anybody has got any questions for Julie or anything that they'd like to comment on? No? Okay, lovely, thank you very much. Okay, so that one's noted then, thank you. Item number 8, Julie, to give us an update and a summary, please, of the exec board.
Yeah, no problem, that's great. Thanks, Chair. So this one's around the activities of the North Warwickshire Community Safety Partnership. It covers our performance, our progress against our priorities, and what's taken place in terms of strategic assessment. It also outlines the latest crime stats and what our new priorities are for the Community Safety Partnership. On page 34 of the report, what you'll see is the new priorities. So these have changed since March. So from April onwards, these are now our new priorities. We have 6 priorities in total. The first change is instead of serious violence, we now have domestic violence with a focus on reducing and preventing long-term repeat victimisation. The second one is very similar to a priority we had before around residential burglary and vehicle crime. The third one, which was rural crime, which we had before, and the fourth one being road safety, which we had before. The other two changes are that we've got business crime and motorway services focused on reducing reports of shoplifting and freight crime. And the sixth priority is environmental ASB with a focus on fly tipping. So I still think probably fly tipping is our number one crime in probably North Warwickshire. There's some slight changes to the cost-cutting themes. I think the one that's particularly apparent is around vulnerability, and this is a focus on children and absence from school. It continues to be an issue, and it was put forward, I think, discussed at the Responsible Authorities Group about having it as a priority. The difficulty around that is we can't actually make a difference in terms of children's attainment at school through the community safety work. So we can do lots of stuff around education, awareness raising, and bringing a lot of community safety performances into school, but we can't actually make a difference to that attainment. So the suggestion was that we keep that as a cross-cutting theme, and then we look at it with our other priorities in terms of going forward. Section paragraph 4 is around our performance, and I just wanted to give you the heads up. So obviously we work in quarterly reports. So the Q4 goes up to March this year and is our last report of the year. It was really just a highlight that at end of Q4, it was quite a positive picture for North Warwickshire. So most offences have been lower than the previous year. So violent, true crime, knife, domestic violence, residential burglary. However, we still had ongoing issues around vehicle offences. They had increased, and there was also a concern around child sexual exploitation, and that's set out in the report. Because we haven't got Q1 of this year, because we're in the middle of it, what I have done is added some performance data for April and May, so it's our monthly performance data. And again, can I first apologise for my heading for the first priority should have said domestic abuse, and for some reason it says residential burglary twice, so I do apologise for that. But the first one does show again around the domestic violence agenda. Violence with injury is above the monthly average for April and May, and as is violence without injury. And when you look at some of the stats around that, I think what's most concerning, which is really highlighted in the performance data, 31% of repeat cases, which seems very high anyway, 63% of them involve mental health issues, 69% of them involve 44% of them involve drugs. So this is something, we've got domestic abuse as one of our priorities. It's certainly something that we need to address, those kind of issues. Again, residential burglary and vehicle crime, I'll quickly touch on some of the stuff that we're doing on that, but again, above the monthly average in May, and we are doing quite a lot of work with the police around that. And also business crime above the monthly average, as was environmental ASB. So definitely got to get our teeth into some of those issues going forward. I won't go through all of the rest of the detail, but from section 5 onwards, I've given you an idea of some of the work that we're doing now to address some of our new priorities. So obviously we've got the council motions, which I've got presentations today on domestic violence. We've also got it as a new priority. I wanted to highlight that we've had 3 domestic homicide reviews, one which is with the Home Office report for approval, 2 ongoing. Since writing this report, we've had a 3rd referral in. So again, quite concerning. I think before my predecessor didn't actually deal with too many domestic homicide reviews, and so we're seeing quite a difference in terms of that going forward. Also on page 37, just an idea of some of the things we want to look at. We want to build on some of the Walk With Us, the VAWG, violence against women and girls, walks, and we want to build on some of the licensed premises. We've already put Ask Angela into those licensed premises, but we want to build on that and make sure that people are very much aware of what's going on. We've also, the Health and Wellbeing Group have suggested that they may consider some domestic abuse grab bags as well. And so that's a possibility going forward. And my colleagues who's here today, we've been talking about doing some other promotional work around bus shelters and buses and maybe our own vehicles to try and get the messages out about domestic abuse. I won't mention residential burglaries and vehicle crime. I'll pick up in a minute. I want to just highlight, since the last meeting, we on road safety, we had taken down the signage around the car cruising injunction because it was out of date and we didn't have a car cruising injunction in place. We have immediately had problems on this patch as a result of people being aware that those signage has come down. So we're in the process currently, within probably the next month, of getting another car cruising injunction in place to stop those problems occurring. They are coming from outside of the area primarily. Also just wanted to highlight some really good operations around vehicle crime, trying to catch people whilst they're undertaking, you know, stealing cars, thefts and so forth. So there's been a number of operations, and I've tried to put in there an example of what one of the latest ones, so you get a feel for what's taking place. Lots of stuff around road safety, events in the libraries. There's a number of videos that our local Safe Neighbourhood team has been involved with, and we're also looking at a project around vulnerable young people, particularly in this rural location, and trying to get some messages out on that. In terms of business crime and motorway services, just to say that once again, we're still doing quite a lot of work at both Tamworth Services and at Crawley. It is a hotspot location. We are targeted because of our location in terms of where it is from port and so forth. That will never stop. But what they have done is put a sort of like a police hub there, and what they've also offered some of the police staff is discounted prices on food in the services, so they can come and stop more in the area when they're passing through, to try and get more visibility around policing and stuff there. So there's a number of operations going on there, and there has been some really successful results, but we've got still a lot of work to be done, as we have in some of the hotspot locations in the villages. I don't know if people have seen on Warwickshire Connected and some of the Aston Coles Hill Facebook pages, but the police are out every single day doing spot checks on cars and trying to leave advice and information and speak to people and give Faraday pouches out, which the partnership has supported. So cross-cutting is just really just to highlight some of the projects we do. So OpScepter is a knife crime project. We also do things like the Junior PCSO scheme, which the police lead on. We're doing work jointly as partner organisations around Operation Plenty. So there's a project in December. We did some work at Easter, and we're hoping to target 3 schools in Leatherstone over summer holidays and look at food bank kind of related issues and summer holiday activities. The other one which ties in with some of the work that we'll have a presentation on later, we do have performances that go into school that have been really successful. So we have 3 performances called Helping Hands, Working for Markers and Calling It Out. They've been into a number of our schools, which are listed in the reports, basically sharing really key important messages. So just really want to highlight kind of breadth of work that's going on there. And we'll be doing much the same next year, as well as a knife crime project, which has gone into some of the secondary schools. Problem solving meetings, it's really just to see that where we have spikes in crimes, we basically produce problem solving plans to address the issues and target our response to what's needed. So we've got 3 at the moment. So one is around the motorway services, and that's theft from vehicles, as well as HGVs having their sides slashed, their curtains slashed, and having stuff removed. But equally, like I mentioned, the vehicle crime stuff, there's a lot of work going on at the moment trying to highlight that there are Faraday pouches available for local people, and what advice and information we give people to make their cars more secure. And I think in some areas the issue was about actually blocking the cars in the first place. But I think things have been improving on that front. Okay, the other one I want to just really highlight is that we were a hotspot location for ASB funding last year, which was for Atherstone. We particularly, PC Scott has kind of had that as his main responsibility within the Safe Neighbourhoods team. We saw a 54% reduction in ASB in Atherstone, and we saw 68% reduction in serious violence, which was really stark. And a lot of that is, again, probably around visibility policing and being more available in the area. Unfortunately, because we've been so successful, we've got no more funding now for next year, which is the way it always goes. So they've just announced the new areas for this year, and unfortunately, we will not be getting any further funding, which is unfortunate. The other kind of things around ASB at the last meeting, I think I was particularly asked around the public space protection orders. It was really just to highlight Atherstone public space protection order is in place. The signage is now all up. We have had a number of penalties as a result of that, and it is likely that we'll be taking further action against one individual as well. So that has been very successful in terms of getting that public space protection order in place. We are looking at easier ways to fine people, so we don't have to have long-winded court processes, and then that people can be pay on the back of a fixed penalty notice, basically. So we're looking at that at the moment. The other one is for Longley for public space. I'm pleased to say that I have moved on this since the last meeting. It has gone out to consultation. I am really struggling to get people to respond to this consultation, so I've just extended it for another 2 weeks. Please encourage people to respond. Love to hear from people. So far, the people I haven't heard from has been very positive to say they want the public space protection order kept in place to stop flighting from occurring. So, and then I think just on the again on Atherstone particularly, we funded through partnership funding 26 new retail units for the shops. And well, any premise within Atherstone town centre and surrounding area. That is going well. Where we have found the odd shop or cafe restaurant has not used it, we have moved that onto a different location. So we're not going to waste any of the coverage. So, and the whole idea of that was to have better links into the control room. And again, we know some of that's worked through some of the activities that's taken place, so that's been really positive. So I think that's pretty much covers my update. If there's any questions?
There's all the hands still looking. I'm not sure who was first, but I spotted Margaret, Council Bell first. Thank you.
Hi, yes, thank you. On page 45, you've got a list of where the CCTV cameras are. Now, we're on the top range in Hartshill. We've been getting children again throwing stones and eggs at cars. So why is the camera there? What's it doing? Why aren't we stopping it? Because if we've got a camera, we should be monitoring it. What's happening? And can it be linked in to Atherstone?
Unfortunately, at the moment, it can't be linked into Atherstone. There is things we can do to look at that, and we've been trying to do some feasibility studies to see how we can make it part of the control room setup. They run differently. So the cameras that I'm responsible for are unfortunately not monitored. They are reactive, so it's based on an incident that we look. In terms of Cockbridge, I absolutely agree with you. We know there's an issue there. We know there's more than just throwing of stones. We are looking at some other options at the moment around that. But some of the difficulty is at the point where we want to put the cameras up, there isn't electricity. So I am following.
Is there a camera there?
There was a camera there.
Is there one now?
I couldn't tell you. There was an AMPR. There was an AMPR camera and a Nomad camera.
It looks as if it's a camera. So the question is it working?
The camera's working.
Well, if it's working and we know that we've had incidents, why hasn't somebody checked it and done something about it?
Well, if we know there's an incident, we would check it.
I'm sorry, but the incidents have been reported.
I'm not the police, so if it's been reported to the police and there has been an incident, I can follow that up and look into it. Unless something's reported specifically to me, I can't. It's the police that actually will look into the footage.
Which, I'm sorry, Julie, I know this isn't your fault, but we've had a camera there before and it's proved useless in trying to identify who's causing the problems on the bridge or indeed around the bridge. So we put another camera up and we're still not getting any sort of response.
I mean, I can't comment on if there's not been a response. All I know is if it was reported and I took it up, then I will follow that through. So I can certainly follow it up. The thing with the CSP cameras, they move around for different reasons. So it could be for public reassurance, it could be a drugs issue, it could be anything. But when we look at that footage, because they are mobile cameras, it is about somebody saying between these hours and this hours, this incident occurred. Can you go back and have a look at the footage? And I would take it upon myself to make sure that was reviewed. So if there's reports, I can follow up from this meeting, what police reports there's been, and we can have a look.
That's lovely, thanks Julie. Maybe if you don't mind, please, you could follow that up and maybe report that back. That'd be really useful.
Yeah.
So we can have a discussion as to whether it's working or what's happening with those cameras. That'd be great. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Three things, if I may, Julie. So apologies. You mentioned vehicle crime earlier. One of the issues in Coleshill, and kind of vehicle into antisocial behaviour, are quad bikes. Quad bikes are a big problem. They're coming across right and that from Chelmsford Wood into the Coleshill area and causing lots of problems, and that's still ongoing. So I just wanted to flag that and to say, when we sometimes think about vehicle crime and vehicles being stolen, there are other types of things.
Can I just come back in on that one? So in terms of quad bikes, off-road motorbike, and any motorised vehicle, again, we try to put up kind of campaign material called Dot Them In campaign. So if we've got a hotspot location, we basically are trying to get Dot Them In campaign promotional material out to those locations. They've got like a QR code that you can scan and report immediately in. We look at all reports on motorised vehicles at our ASB meetings, so every report that's been made, and then we try and target those locations. So that is something that we do look at every single month. And I know the county council also have said that the community safety team said they will take on that responsibility and making sure the signage is up.
And I think one of the important things, I think it follows on from Margaret's point actually, because I've had that conversation with residents. They go, "What's the point? Nothing gets done." It's almost like this. I think we need to really get that message out there about what we are doing and kind of reinforce that. So thank you for that. The other one was the Bell Inn in Coleshill. Problems continue with the nightclubs, etc., antisocial behaviour. I'd heard, and I don't think it's actually true, from one of the residents that the police had asked us to withdraw their licence. When I spoke to the chair of the licensing committee, I said, had we been asked, we would have withdrawn it. So do we know, have we been asked? Have the police actually said, can we withdraw their licence?
So I think the information that I can probably share in this meeting is that there is still ongoing conversations with the Bell Inn. There's a lot of people working with the Bell Inn at the moment. So on both the police, environmental health, from a licensing point of view and from a noise perspective, I'm also involved as well. And we're looking at the whole issue. We're reviewing from a noise point of view. We're looking at the disorder point of view. What I can say in this meeting is that it's ongoing discussions at this moment, but the licence is being looked at. There's consideration for the licence.
Okay, thank you. And the final one, I think we've swapped some emails about it, but it went quiet for a while. On the A4097, we've got people pulling up in the hard shoulder and then moving into what was the old Kingsbury Road and using it as a public toilet. And it's been regular. I mean, it's not just a one-off, it is a consistent, almost constant. And that might be as simple as actually just cutting all the hedges down so that it's not as isolated as it currently is. So if we could follow up on that, I'd appreciate it.
I'll follow up on that one after the things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi Julie, I think Your report's really, really good again, and thank you for that. I know you were saying about all the different interventions that you're doing in school, which I think is amazing and it's so valuable because that's the target age that we really want to create awareness. The one that hasn't been mentioned, which you mentioned to me before, which I was hoping to get involved with, Operation Edward. Do you know much about that?
I can complete.
And then there's another one. That's it. Yeah.
So that one, unfortunately, I think both from the police crime commission side, which was leading the project, I think he's kind of gone a little bit quiet since the last meeting, because I know I was going to put them in touch with yourself and Councillor Phillips. Also, a colleague of mine that I'd asked whether she could lead on the project has been off on long-term sickness. So I have raised it with the police and crime commissioner, one of their officers. And they did say they were going to get back to me. So after this meeting, I'll follow up on that one. But yeah, you know, apologise that not much has happened since. But the intention is for that project to go ahead. I think it's a pilot project.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. And then my second one was antisocial behaviour meetings that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Just wondering if any of us councillors can get involved. We've got quite a lot of antisocial behaviour in Anstey Village at the moment, and quite a lot of concerns. Or if there's any way that we can push further for more interventions.
Yeah. So, Chair, through the ASB meetings, that they aren't specifically sort of council-related meetings, but what I would say is if I gave you the dates of when we meet each month, what we can do is try and find if there's, because we look at geographical areas, so we look at data and then we look at our interventions and what we're doing. We look at victims, and we look at stats, so like off-road bikes. But what I could do is maybe share with you my dates of the meetings, and so then you can help inform the meetings. So if there's something particularly going on in an area, then we can pick it up and look at it under kind of geographical areas.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Raymond.
Thanks for your report, Julie. Very comprehensive as always. Thank you. I know there's only you and how much work you do, so thank you for that. I'm just really pleased to see the work on targeting vehicle crime. It's been a while since we've had that split up at 3 o'clock in the morning with videos of people in our village and their cars being stolen. So thank you from me and them. That's really helpful. In terms of the knife crime initiative, would it be possible for that to go into the youth clubs as well as the schools? Because I know certainly in the villages, quite a few of the children live in North Warwickshire, but they go to school outside of the county. And I know that they would really benefit from that. And just to highlight that we have issues with off-road bikes as well.
We can just come back to you on that. So yeah, Knife Crime project, it can go into any setting. And what I'm hoping to do is get a number of people trained up to deliver that. So we'll just have 10 VR headsets. And then a number of people can actually take that into whatever setting. So whether that's a school or whether that's a youth club, it doesn't really matter. So next year, well, sorry, when I say next year, this year, I'd like to get that into more settings. I feel kind of compared to some of the other parts of the county, we've not seen that kind of education programme go out as much. So I think hopefully going forward, I'm going to get as many people I can to get trained up on it. So probation service, for example, got police officers who are quite interested in being trained up, like PCSOs. It's just making sure it's the right person for the right settings, really, and to get the most out of it. So yes, that's not a problem at all. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Osborne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, in the village of Polesworth and some of the connecting villages, just lately we've had quite a lot of fires or arson starting late at night. Some have been in the play areas and caused quite a lot of damage to the equipment. I know it's a drain on borough resources to one of them, make it safe and then get it repaired again. So it'd be great if we knew that we got our partnership with the Warwickshire Fire and Rescue and the police trying to look at that as much as they can. The other thing I was going to say, if anybody's read the report from Warwickshire Police Inspectorate, it's quite worrying reading, really. I think we were above average in one adequate in a couple, not very adequate in quite a few, and failing in one area. And the one area we're failing is supporting vulnerable people and victims. That was quite devastating when I read that. So I've looked at Philip Seckham's response to that. And obviously there's a certain element of he would rather some of the more salient facts about where they've improved comes first. And then towards the end, he sort of blames the fact that there's not many resources. It wasn't so long ago that he was trumpeting that we've got record numbers of police officers in Warwickshire. So it seems to have changed in a few months. That in one area we've got record numbers and it's great news. And then now not enough, and that's the problem. So it's either one or the other. What I'd like to try and see, because the partnership that we've got here does a fantastic job with the resources they've got. As you've heard her say, Julie say, she's had the funding and made a massive improvement. And now she's made the massive improvement, they've got rid of funding. So it's almost like, oh, well, we need to fail again so you can get the money. And that just seems bizarre to me. Absolutely counterintuitive. I think everybody, no matter where we sit, would agree with that. So I think it's been a while since we've had anybody here from Police and Crime Commissioner's office. It'd be nice to see Philip come and join us and see what we can question him on the report, what plans he's got to improve.
Thank you. Maybe that's a written invitation, Julie, possibly we could send them an invite to maybe attend. That'd be really useful. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Humphries.
Yes, Chair. I'm just looking at 4.2 here, Julia. I don't like percentages because it doesn't tell me anything about the story. And I might be being naive. What does MARAC stand for? 16 MARAC referrals were reported in May, up from 14 in April. There's a number there, I can look at that. But then you say of the 31 repeat cases reported in May, 63% involved mental health, 69% alcohol, and 44% drugs. How big is 31%? Is it 10, 50,000? Can't see where the trend will be. We can see the percentages could tell us a trend, but how big is the problem? And my simple maths says I can't understand how we can get 63%, 69% and 44%. Are there multiple issues that have caused those problems? If you look further up, antisocial behaviour is up plus 40% with 293 reports. I can visualise that, but I can't visualise just 31% of repeat cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Can I just come back on that? I mean, that's why we tend to use the quarterly reports because they're much easier to digest and use effective way of what's going on. The only reason I added in the monthly performance, which I agree with you, is not as meaningful, which relates to that appendices, which has got all the details on it, is because I just felt otherwise the only performance data I was going to be able to give you was stuff that's happened prior to, to kind of April, really. And I wanted to try and give you some up-to-date information. At the next meeting, you'll get a full quarter-one report, which will give us better stats. But the information is much more limited on the monthly data than it is on the full quarterly reports. So only limited to what I've got. And again, I think with the MARIC, there was no, so MARIC is to do with the, we'll talk about it on the presentations, but it's referrals around domestic abuse. But I don't think I've got any anything that I could, yes, it's got not applicable in terms of giving me information about the previous year. So I couldn't give you anything to compare by with whether that was up or down or. So hopefully by the time we get our next set of performance data, it'll be fuller and it's much more easier to digest when we've got a quarter report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Phillips.
First of all, thanks for putting me onto those posting from Warwickshire County Council. I've put quite a few around the villages and either sadly or well, they've been used. So thank you for those. Questions around fly tipping, and I just want to know really, if you cover this one, is how proactive is the system in detecting where the hotspots are and then moving the resources like cameras and things to those hotspots. Because we've had a lot of flight tipping happening in Piccadilly. And I'm just hoping it's being sort of picked up and the resources and maybe folks there just sort of around that really and how that actually works.
Yes, okay, so just on that, so we've got a dedicated flight tipping, I don't think they call it flight tipping officer, but flight tipping officer. His job is to investigate those tips and collate that kind of information about where they're taking place, look at common themes, the type of materials being used, days, times, whatever. He's also trying to put like it as more of a crime scene and put tape up just to get people's attention that flight tipping shouldn't be tolerated in a certain location, basically, and to see it as it is a crime to fly tip. So I think what we could do is also get the flight tipping officer to come and report, because we'll have it as a priority next time, and actually talk to that report. But from what I understand, and it is only from what I understand, there is a much more coordinated approach to looking from why is it happening in a certain area, how's it happening, is it on public land, because we will only look at it if it's on public land, private land, if it's on farmland, we wouldn't look at it unless it's near enough on the edge. So we would look at all those kind of issues and pull all that information together and get a picture of North Warwickshire. Yeah, I can only really talk about it as opposed to knowing.
Yeah.
But I believe it's quite a sophisticated approach now to flight tipping.
Thank you.
Going forward.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you. Anybody else?
Sorry, Jenny. So if I could, just to come back and picking up on as Humphrey's point, I think there would be some clarity around the percentages. Because whilst I can understand why, so I'll take the final columns up, which are total to date. Use obviously April and May on the Marrick, so 30 kind of cases discussed. I can get the 23% of the more repeat cases because that could be, but when you add up the others, where you've got mental health, alcohol or drugs, it adds up to more than 100%. So there must be more than one cause, multiple. I think that was the point you were trying to get at. So there's more than one cause, isn't it?
So I think it's not saying it's one or the other. So I think it could be multiple.
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Otherwise, I expect to see added went up to 100. Not
yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks very much, Julie, for a really comprehensive report. Just a couple of things, just for me really. So it's interesting to hear about the car cruising injunctions. I'm just wondering, obviously you're going to apply for them again, but how long will that take and for them to come through? So.
Chair, I probably would need to come back to you on how long it would take. I know we were hoping to act on it very, very quickly. And yeah, there's already been a discussion with the barrister to try and sort that out. So I think things probably better come back with some timescales, but I've been working with the solicitor and we've already got the statement sorted. We've already got the evidence from the police. We've got information from businesses, so we can actually move on it quite quickly.
That's lovely, thanks. Obviously, it's a problem again very quickly. We need to move on that quite quickly. Just another couple of things really. One of them is just probably more information. From me being out and about, I've met Karen Lynch, who is obviously the High Sheriff for Warwickshire. And I know that she's doing lots of things at the moment around young sheriffs and schools. So I don't know, I mean, I have got some details, so I'll share them with you, Julie, but it might be really useful to have a look at that a little bit more and see what it is that they're offering. So they are offering to do some programmes across the schools around people being young sheriffs. So that might be quite useful. And obviously would complement the work that the police are doing as well, potentially, which would be good. And just the final point for me, really, so I'm just wondering, obviously, there's been lots of conversations about the contributing factors of obviously drugs or alcohol. I'm just wondering if there's anything more that we could be doing, or is anything that we could get out into the communities to support some of that, some of those addictions, or maybe contributing factors to some of the, whether it's domestic abuse or antisocial behaviour, etc. But there's anything more we could be doing in regards to getting some support out there.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's something more that we can look at, and certainly we had an organisation called Compass who were working previously with young people. Well, we now got CGL, and they're working with I'm sure Priya might be able to tell me, but they're working with children and adults now going forward. So I think there's an opportunity there to connect with the new contacts and basically have a look at like how do they work with schools, you know, in terms of that, you know, and how we can engage them more in the work about partnership. So certainly there's opportunities there.
Excellent, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. If we move on then to item number 9. So back to you, Julie, if you're happy to present that. Thank you.
So this report again is for information only. It's really just to make you aware that we have something called the Warwickshire Community Safety Information Sharing Protocol. You've got all the details attached, the document attached. It just basically sets out how we can facilitate this sharing of information, including sensitive confidential information between partner organisations and so forth, and make sure that we do it within our legislative, that's a mouthful, legislative requirements. And it's also, I think the documents also identifies why we should share information as well, because I think we become quite scared about sharing information because of the consequences of doing that. What you've also got within this document is all the different templates that we use to undertake that work appropriately and in the right process. So this was really just to say that it's been updated and this is the latest information. So a lot of the confidential information we should be using these kind of sensitive templates. I know certainly with the kind of the groups that I work with, everybody has to sign it, sign a confidentiality agreement before they attend the actual meetings. So it's really good information, but it's also to make sure that people are aware that this is in place. We can share information, but we need to do it appropriately.
Thank you. Has anybody got any comments on? Well, so if you have chance, it's obviously at the back of the pack, the appendix and that. No, lovely. Thank you very much. So that brings us back to item number 6 of the agenda, which is presentation. So at this point, I don't have the actual words, unfortunately, unless you've got them. Thank you. I did search. Okay. To consider in accordance with section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, whether it is in the public interest that the public or press be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the agenda that involves the likelihood of disclosure of expert information as defined by Schedule 12A to the Act. So, sorry, gentlemen. Thank you. Yes, it's thank you.
So yeah, for help.
So are you proposing?
I'll propose
Thank
it.
you. You can have that seconded. Thank you. Excellent.